Awesome. Okay, so we stopped at functions. Oh, I see your question, Kayla, about creating spec files. There is like one of our projects or assessments, there is you have to write a spec file, but we have it started out for you, and there's an example of it. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we were going over functions. So to define a function, I don't know when this got imported. Okay. So yes, functions. You can define them with the DEF keyword, and then colon, and then indent everything that goes inside of that function. Okay, so with a function that has a parameter, you can only call it with a parameter. So you can't just call it without anything at all. And also you cannot call it with multiple parameters. There we go. So this one said missing one required argument, and then here it takes one argument, but you gave two. So and then we erase, and then now we have our regular output. Okay, so let's say I want to create a function that describes berries. So describe berries. I don't know why we love berries so much, but berries are great. Okay, so let's say we want the numbers of berries and the number of berries and then the color. Or color, I don't know. Depends on where you learned your English. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to print a what am I gonna say? I have 10, and then whatever color it is, and then berries. So I have blackberries, blueberries, stuff like that. And so you actually don't need to put a return as long as there's something in your method. And someone I think did mention earlier that, yeah, like if some people put pass just to not get any errors when you're running, and if you don't have anything to put into your function yet. So if I call this describe berries, and I'm gonna say I have 3 blueberries. If I print and it says I have 3 blueberries. What will happen if I swap these? If I put blue and then 3. Any guesses?
Shouldn't be I have
passed.
Hmm?
You'll have blue 3 berries.
Yep. So the order matters when you have functions defined like this. So when you have multiple arguments, the order matters. Commenting out the wrong way. Okay, so.
Can you spend a minute describing how you would insist on a certain data type then in each one of those?
Yeah, so actually for data types, I haven't played around with that, but there is a way to do something. So let me show you this one. So berries, and let's say I want to define that n is equal to 1, and then color is equal to so these are the defaults. So blue, here. And I can just print this. So if I call. Oops. So to actually do it the proper, so I'm gonna change this to red. And then 3 is fine. So you would have to specify that this is the color. So color equals, and then n equals 3. To specify. Let me actually see if this works with this one too. So, yeah, it's. Yeah, okay. So regardless of how you write this, you can specify that color is equal to this value, and then n is equal to this value, and that way you can write it in any order you would like. For this one, for this definition here, since we said that n is equal to 1 and color is equal to blue, that means, in theory, I should be able to just call describe berries, and it will set these as the defaults. There we go. So for this one, it says I have 1 blueberries, which is grammatically incorrect, but say 2. So I need to look this up. Python. Function parameters. There is a way, I know it is, but I just forgot the syntax of it. There we go. So you put the name of it and then a colon, and then you can say what type it is. So if I look back here, let's say for this definition, I would say this one is an int, and then this one, oops, this one is a, I think it's just str. And let me comment these out. And this way, if I, so yeah, now it shows that this is an int and this is supposed to be a string. And then if I put a string first, and then an int after, we should be getting, or not. Okay, I guess the typing. Yeah. I guess it doesn't give actual errors. I'll look into this a little more and we'll look at it, but yeah, I'll give you guys this. And we will circle back into that. Yeah, Zach and Lewis.
So with that very bottom definition there, you've got your default parameters, which is, I guess, somewhat similar to JavaScript and how you can set default parameters. But if you were to try and call describe berries with something other than 2 in the color blue, will you just show us what that does?
Yep. 5 and red. There we go.
Cool.
5 red berries. Yeah. So if you have something, it'll replace it. If you don't, it will not. The order thing will also work here. So if I say specify that color equals red, and Just gonna call this describe berries 2, so we make sure that it's actually going there. But it should be. And then n equals. There we go. Still works. Yeah, it was.
You probably said already, but like on line 12, if you wanted to put a space between like the color and the berries, you just space it, or like you just had to put a comma in.
You just put
Like
a.
if I don't. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
And then open
everything-
out like the space.
Yeah, so everything within this, just treat it as a regular string.
Mhm.
Any spaces, any characters you will see in the final string. Anything inside curly braces, that is going to be whatever's in your parameter that is named that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And that string has to be single quotes. It can't be double quotes.
No, it can. Yeah, so I can, I'm still getting used to Mac shortcuts. So let's try that. There we go. We have the red berries. And the reason there's no space is just because I added space up here, not over here. Curious to see. So I need to look into this more, but I'm not sure if this is just a redefinition of the same one, or if these are two separate functions. Because strawberries, and if I just do that, so I'm going to remove this all. So for the first one, it still says 2 blueberries. Okay. Yeah, I will look into this. I'm not exactly sure if you have 2 of the same ones, if it's like with the same parameters, if it just overwrites the function, because I know that if you can have multiple functions with the same name, as long as I mean, if you have like different parameters, you can use them in different ways. So if I had, let's say, a third parameter called give me something. Name, I don't know. You will soon realize that I'm very bad at naming things. Second function, oops. I'm not really going to use the name, but this will come in handy when I'm actually calling the thing. So let's see what happens if I would say 3 orange and something. So 3 orange berries. Okay, so it does redefine it because it's all now calling the second function. So if I had put just name here, let's see what this does.
Xana, do you just add those for readability then? So these titles or tags, whatever you're gonna call them, why would, if what we do is programmatic, why would you ever adjust the order of those? Is this just for readability?
For adjusting the order, sometimes you need to call a function let's say you have like a dictionary of values or a list of values, and you want an easy way to call a function with those variables or whatever like data you have, and you don't want to specify, you don't want to change the order of the data that you have, and you just want to specify that color equals, let's say, like user, like the dictionaries that we were using earlier, user at color. That would be problematic, but but yeah, so that's where I would see it come in handy. So I guess I should have said varies at color. And then the second one, n equals varies at numbers. Which, yeah, I think it just offers a little more flexibility. That's it. Any other questions? No?
I see you have nothing on there. Does null and undefined still work in Python?
Yeah, so this nothing is an actual string. So we can put null. I think it's capital actually. Or not. Oh, in Python it's none. Python is none. For null. I think that's the same as the undefined. Null should be a thing. Oh, it's okay. If you want null, it's all caps null, and then for the undefined it's none in Python. Yeah. Any other questions about this function?
What's the difference between undefined
Mhm.
and null?
So I'm gonna write this in the notes. So undefined is in JavaScript, none in Python. These are like unspecified, undefined values. You don't know what it is. There's a better wording for this, but that's pretty much exactly what it is. It's an undefined, unspecified value, and then null. I think it's lowercase n in JavaScript, and in Python, a specified value for nothing. So null is specifically nothing. None or undefined is there is no specified value for this at all. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I understand the use of null.
Mhm.
Saying you don't know. Well, yeah. So it's not a big trouble. I just wondered why.
You were just wondering like the difference between them?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, these will come up more in practice, but yeah. All right, any other questions?
Does 0 still go to null or undefined?
It depends on the context. I think like in other languages, if you're working with like pointers or like like addresses of things and stuff like that. If you put a 0, that's automatically known as a null. But yeah, it depends on where you're using the 0. I'm not sure
But
if
if you have-
Python actually recognizes it as a null.
If you have $0 in your bank account, that's a distinct value. If
Yeah.
you just don't, if you haven't assigned it, then it's null, I would argue.
Yes, so you can assign, so let's say you have an array, you can assign all the values as null. That means there is nothing there. It's not 0, but it's nothing. And then if you have 0, that's something, but it's 0.
Do null and undefined still refer to false if you're looking at them in Python?
I actually don't know. So null or what's that for that? So if you want like a quick Python interpreter, just type Python 3 and then you have it here. So I can say you said null and undefined, or what was it?
Yeah,
Or
does null is null false and is undefined false?
So null equals false. Null is not defined. Is it? No. Okay, I don't know why it was showing null here then. So null. I don't even know if Python uses null. I think it just uses none. I wanted to say. Okay, never mind. I just wanted to say none. Should I do it? Okay, this is doing nothing. God, I'm in the terminal. Okay, so none does not equal false. But that might be like a typing thing. I would say we should Google it. Because there. Yeah. Kayla, like you're saying, like faulty values. Yeah, Python does use none to say like something is false-ish, but it's not, it doesn't equal false, it's not actually false. Yeah. Does this answer you guys' questions or? Yeah.
Yeah, it answers it. I was just wondering if you could use them when you're doing if or statements.
We'll look at that. Yeah. So you can, but you wouldn't use it instead of false or true. You would say if it is none or something like that. If like a value is none, that means that value is undefined or it is null, and then that if that goes to true, then you can move on to your statement. Which we will see soon. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so what if you want to define a function to print arguments or to use certain arguments, and you don't care about the order, you don't care about what those arguments are, you just know that you're going to receive arguments and then you're going to do something with it. So let me call this print all args. And the way you can denote this is with a star args. And this will automatically put every single parameter that gets sent in with the call into this this args variable. So then we can just do print args, and then we call it print all args, and we can do like colors. So red, blue, forgot this, and green. So when I print, why is it, oh, it was trying to, so yeah. I didn't look it up yet, but I'm pretty sure null is not a Python thing. Okay, so if I do this, there we go. So it just prints out red, green, and blue. Yes, Lewis.
So in line 27, when you put the star args, does the args have to be args, or you can put anything?
Let's try it out. Let's just say A. It should still work. I'm pretty sure it's, yeah, it's just an alias.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes, Ken.
JavaScript's got the dot, the spread operator. Is this kind of the same thing? I'm assuming.
Yes, this is like a condenser.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, can you go over this again, please? Where's the args? What are args in this? Where are those coming from?
So args are coming from the function call. So whenever someone calls this function to use it, they will send in parameters, and whatever parameters get sent in are automatically put into here.
Gotcha. I see. Okay, understood.
Um,
Those were the okay. Yep, those are the inputs.
yeah, exactly. Let me actually see what type args becomes. It's a tuple, which is why we saw these in there. Okay. Nick.
Can you put a cap on that? Like you only want to, like say you want more than 5, but you only want to go up to 50. Can you cap how many arguments can be passed there?
I'm actually not sure. We will look, I will look that up. And yeah, Lewis.
I just wanted to know what type of situation would you want to use that star args?
Kind of like in this situation, if you just want to print things, or you want to I don't know, you want to send in arguments to another function where you don't really know how much input you're getting, then this would be good.
Can you use an index there? Can you do print args square brackets 1:3?
Let's try that.
Or yeah, 1:2 or
Yep. Yeah, it works. So you can still access like the separate ones, like a list. But like we said before, tuple, because it's a tuple, you can't change it, which is good. You shouldn't be able to change your parameters. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so this one is for just random arguments. So what if I wanted to have like a key for these? What if I wanted to specify like a keyword for it. So like we did here, where we said n equals something. So we're not just getting 2 in blue, we're actually getting something structured in the way of n equals something, name equals something, whatever it is. So the way we can do that is this example. Who am I? And then this is keyword args. I believe if you use these in Python has like a main method defined. So if you call that from the shell with certain arguments after it, it captures those arguments and sends it into your program. So that is an application of these, which I'll try to find an example of later and then send it to you guys.
I can't read what's displayed there. What is this with the 3 asterisks or plus keys? Plus,
Oh, sorry, it's asterisks. Let me make it bigger.
and what do the asterisks do again?
So this specifies that it will be like a list, like a 1-dimensional list. This will be like a 2-dimensional list, I believe. This I've seen this in C where in your main, like when you call your program, so you're saying like Python 3 functions.py, and then you put some arguments afterwards. So let's say or like if I wanted to send in the blue, like blue, red, something like that, whatever, it will capture these and then it will send them into the main function. But Python is a little different than other languages where there isn't one central function that you have to access all of your code through. You can just literally write it anywhere on the page, and if it's in the right area, it'll get run. But yeah, that's one application of it. Like I said, I'll pull it out. I think it's like define main something. I don't know.
I understand passing the arguments, but I don't know that I get the asterisks yet, or the plus asterisks.
Well, yeah, we'll see how it is. So if we do, we'll first print out type of the keyword args, and then I'm going to call it. So I'm actually just going to copy this example that I have. Okay, so this is what I'm saying with the keywords. So you're specifying exactly what keyword per parameter. And then if I this out, okay, so it actually takes it in as a dictionary. And if I just print out the entire thing, it shows key value pairs. So I'm assuming in Python, the double stars mean that it will be a dictionary, and then the single one means like it's a list type, but parameters get taken in as tuples instead of just a regular list. So it's immutable. So yeah, when we print it out, here we see these. Does this make sense? I haven't seen this used too much, but I guess this one would be a little more usable than this one, because if you have some dictionary of data and you don't want to care about naming every single parameter and specifying the parameters, you can just capture it through this. You don't even need to name it this. Again, this is just a variable name. So yeah, you can send in an entire like list of things.
And it looks like when you do it that way for the dictionary, the keys don't have to be in parentheses.
Here, no. So this is, yeah, so these are just sent in as regular arguments. They're not a dictionary themselves, but they get captured as a dictionary. So yeah, here we can just put them as literals. Where, yeah.
So if we wanted to mess with that dictionary, we would still, like, if we wanted to reference that dictionary, we'd still call it exactly the same as you showed us, like with the name of the dictionary and then the brackets and in parentheses the key.
Exactly. So let's say I know that there's a name, I can access this and it'll print out Dan here. So it'll print out the name. But a lot of times in this case, you did it this way because you don't know what variables you have. So you would do a for loop, which we'll see. I mean, I can just talk about it now. So for loops are super easy in Python. I love them. So for let's say for keyword in keyword args. And then, so this will give you every single keyword. This is how you iterate through a dictionary. When you iterate through a dictionary, it gives you the keywords. And inside, when you want to print, you would say keyword args at keyword, because that's the key, and it will print out the value. So it printed out the 3 values over here. Did that make sense? And I can also print out the keyword, so actually make it into the same one. Yeah, while I'm doing this, any other questions? There we go. So we have access to the key, and then we have access to the value. Okay. Yeah, it is. This for loop is similar to the for each in JavaScript. That's true. Yeah, Jacob.
If you threw something in there that wasn't a key value pair in the arguments, would it throw an error, or what would it do?
Let's see. Say I want to send in this. Yeah, it's giving an error because it's expecting everything to be defined with a keyword.
All right, cool, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. So this is yeah, this is the most of the functions that, or the types of functions that you would come across. So now we can just kind of go over if statements and stuff like that. So let me just. So there's not many notes. So if statements work pretty much the same thing, the same way they do in JavaScript. But the only thing is, instead of, I'm just copying this over. So this is the main thing for if statements. Instead of the and, or, and not, we use the actual words and, or, and not. So let's see an example of that. I'm going to go back to the class.py with the examples. Actually, I'll just start a new one. If statement and oops. Okay. So let's say we want a function that we can check if someone can drink beer. Okay, so and drink age, and then we want to take in the country. Okay. So what are some restrictions? So let's say we know that in the US, it's 21 or over, right? So we can check if age is greater than or equal to 21. Then return true. So this is the syntax for an if statement. If you don't have to have any parentheses, you can just go into your expression, and then a colon, and similar to how we have in functions, anything under it has to be indented. So whatever's indented belongs to this if statement. And so I want to say else return false. So this is the general one. Let's say if age is greater than 21, or I know in the UK, I think the age is 18. So we can say or age age is, but I'll go over that one later. Greater than or equal to 18, and country equals what's the word? Is it just United Kingdom? No. United Kingdom. So if the age is over 18 and country is United Kingdom, then return true, and else return false. Let's say Antarctica, they probably don't have any rules, right? So this is the else if. So elif country equals Antarctica. So at any age. Okay. Any questions about this?
Yeah, the else if has to be ELIF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If we wanted to say not, we can say elif country equals Antarctica. No. So not, you would put it here. So if you wanted the age is over 18 and not country equals United States. So if all other countries other than the United States had an age requirement of 18 and over, this would work. So I'll just say USA. Easier. Okay, so let's test it out. So 20 and USA. Oh, I'm running the wrong one. Okay. And this is statements. Okay, so I'm getting false, which is correct. So if we have a person who is 21, then it's true. Let's say a person is 18 and they're in the UK. Let's see if that works. It is also true. Let's do print. What is it called? Say 4 and Antarctica. Did I spell that right? Antarctica, yeah. And that is true. So yeah, any questions about this? This is kind of straightforward. No.
So do we not use exclamation points? We just use not?
Yeah, I think you can do not equal. I think that is also, yeah, not equals works. But the not keyword is a thing too. So if I wanted to say, I have age, not I think it is not, yeah. And not 21. Is not, yeah, then never mind. So the not, it's used. So, but for this case, because you're actually comparing these two, the not equals is the correct way of doing it.
And do we not have the 3 equal signs anymore?
No, because Python doesn't automatically what was it called, type coercion, where it like automatically infers the types and stuff like that. It does not have that. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. For loops. So say I have a list, my list equals A, B, oops, and C. To iterate it through it for X in my list, or for, I'm just going to call it item in my list. We can print, just comment these out. Print my item. So if I run this, it'll just print out the items A, B, and C. You can also loop through a range of numbers. So for X in range 10, So this will go from 0 up until 9. So it'll stop at the right before 10. And then so print X. There we go. So it goes from 0 all the way to 9. If you want to specify, you can also specify like a range of numbers between two numbers. So you can do like from 2 to 6. And then let me comment this one out. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is for that one. You can also do arrange backwards. Let's see if I'm gonna do this right. Yeah, so the function range takes 1 to, I think, up to 3 arguments. So if you do 1, it's going to start at 0 and count up until that number. If you put 2, it's going to count starting at the first number up until and before the last one. If you put 3 arguments, the third argument will be your step. So how many steps to take. So if I put 2, it will give me a number every 2. So print call it step range. So you see it started at 2 and then 4, and then it was supposed to stop at 5, but that was before the cutoff. If you do, I think you can also do negatives, so you can do it backwards. Where you do like from 6, 2. I think that should work as well. Exactly, yeah. So it goes backwards. 6, 5, 4, 3. You can step it by more than 1 backwards. Yeah, this range method is pretty powerful. Oops, lost my terminal. Okay, any questions about this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you lost me from line 23 and down. Like, where did you get the range from?
So range is built into Python.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a method that pretty much, so it's a class in Python and it returns an object that produces a sequence. So it pretty much returns like a list type, I think. So let's say range whatever for let's print out the type. The type keyword is going to be your best friend if it's called, if you're trying to figure out what's happening. Okay. Oh, so it's its own type of class, and it's an iteratable thing. So you're able to iterate through it like this. It's mostly just used for iteration for loops. So instead of in JavaScript how we did like for what is it called, like I equals 0, I is less than whatever. So instead of doing all of those, you can just create a range in here, and it will iterate through them and give you the number of that. So it's like index.
Can it step by a decimal amount?
Yeah. Let's try that actually. I never thought actually to try to do that. Yeah. It's supposed to be an integer. Any other questions? Sometimes you want to start at 1. Wait, what are you talking? Sorry.
Brian was just mentioning that the ranges will definitely start at 0 by default.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
was working on the Fibonacci challenge, just leaning forward a bit, and I was figuring out why I couldn't get it to work right. Starting at 1 solved the problem, so.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I did have a question.
Mhm.
So, just a few times, so the for loops in Python, they don't have, they return the value and not the index. So the only way that I figured out to, like, if I need to deal with the index, and maybe the better way to do it is you do the range length, and then inside the length you put the list that you're working with. Is that the best way to deal with indexes?
So I was actually this is the next example that I'm gonna show you guys. So this will help with that for sure. So like Ben was saying, sometimes you want the index and the item itself. So to do that, so this is called enumerate. And it's one of those built-in functions as well. So for the index and the element, again, you can name these whatever you want. So let's call it index and element in enumerate. And then I had my list up here, so I'll just use that in my list. So this should give you what you're looking for. So I'm just going to print out my index and then my element. And it should give like 0A, 1B, 2C. There we go. So yeah, this function pretty much goes through your list and returns two things. I actually don't know how it returns them. It's a sequence. Yeah, I don't know the behind the curtain what happens, but it returns the index and the element of that list. That way you can use them together. Did that help? Okay, awesome. All right, so looping over dictionaries. Okay. So
I had one question.
Uh-huh.
If you wanted to stop your for loop early, how would you do that?
So if you wanted to, like if you had a condition, like if something is that and then you want to stop it early, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so like let's say if index equals 1, then you can just return. No, that will return the entire thing. So you can break. So break will break out of a loop. Continue will ignore everything after this if statement. So if you had like a bunch of code down here, it will ignore everything there and just continue with the loops and go to the next item. But yeah, break, do, and loop early. And if I run it, there you see it stopped before it got to C.
And then I was just wondering, what if you defined X before you actually put it in an if statement for the ranges? Would it mess up everything?
If you defined what before putting it in a range? Like
X. So if X was already defined before
Yeah.
you started using the range function.
So X equals 4, or X equals hello. Oops. It should override it. Yeah, so hello, and then, yeah. Wait. Step range, hello. And X in range. It's not printing.
It needs to be a negative step.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. There we go. So it just prints out the numbers as they are. So it is overwritten. Which is a good thing to keep in mind when you're writing things, just so you're not wondering like what happened to the value and stuff like that. Yeah, Hassan.
So I had a question. I noticed you're using X in
Mhm.
your for loops, and compared to like JavaScript, I would use like I. Is that like the standard for Python is to use X?
No, so I is usually for index. So JavaScript, usually you're creating like an index that you're running through. So
Okay.
here I would call this one I, and then this one whatever you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's just commonly seen as I is index.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Okay, we are almost done looking through dictionaries. So let's create a dictionary. Actually, I'm just going to copy over this dictionary that I created. Oops. Which I already showed you guys a little bit of how to loop over. Okay, so we have our people dictionary. We can do for key in people. Then you can print out people at the key. And then this will print out every single entry in that dictionary. This is hold on. Oh, this is a list. My bad. This is not what I wanted to do. This is just looping through a regular list. That's why it didn't work. I'm just gonna delete all of this and just say person equals. Yeah, also Python cares about your indentation. It's fine. Okay, so this will loop through all the key value pairs in here. So you'll get the keys. Print this out. There we go. I was gonna person at key. Hold on. What is this being printed? Oh, okay. So it printed out Alice, it printed out 44, and it printed out a dictionary in here because the third key contains a dictionary, which is, yeah. Hassan, did you still have a question or is the hand up from before?
Oh no, I forgot to lower my hand. My
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I was just checking. Okay, so if you do it this way, it'll give you the keys. If you want to iterate through the values themselves, for val in person dot values, oops, then you can print out the val as it is, and you don't have to use this. There we go. So it still prints out the same thing, but you don't have to do this extra step. This is helpful. Sometimes you do need the key, but sometimes you just need the values. Okay, so questions about this? Make sense? Good. Okay. So next is while loop. I'm trying to hurry up before lunch. Okay. So while loops, is everyone here familiar with while loops? Yeah, okay. Let's say we have x equals 9, and then we say while x is greater than 0. That's not x. We want to print out x. And the difference between a while and a for loop is that you have to make sure to increase or decrease whatever value you're using to track the while loop, because if you don't, it'll end up in an infinite loop, and you don't really want that. And if you ever do, just hit Control C or Control Z, I think, and that'll stop your program if you're ever in any sort of loop in the terminal. So yeah, x. So I can say x equals x minus 1, or I can say x minus equals 1. Those will both do the same. Same thing, the same as x equals x minus 1. And so if I do that, it'll print out 9 all the way to 1. Good, makes sense. And if I didn't have this, this will go on forever, and I can just hit Control C. Awesome. That was while loops. Pretty brief. Okay, so most value types that we have seen have built-in functions. So like a string, I actually didn't show you too many of those, but let's say we have some sort of string that says something. I can say string dot, and there's a bunch of what is it called, of methods that we can use. So capitalize, let's see what this does. Capitalize is a method, so we need the parentheses. Forgot to change this. Okay, so it just capitalizes the first letter of the word. Okay, so if I do this, capitalize, and then if I just print out the string. So if I do dot capitalize and then I do the string, nothing happened here. So this is what is called a non-destructive method. Yeah. So there's destructive methods and there's non-destructive methods. Destructive methods are those that change the original data, versus non-destructive methods. They do not. So they do something, but they return a value that does not affect the original piece of data. So as you saw here, when I called capitalize, it did nothing. It didn't actually change anything in string, but when we printed it out, it printed out the value that we wanted. So we would need to do string 2 equals string dot capitalize, and then we can print out string 2 as our new string. And our original stays the same as it is. So same if I wanted to do a replace. So replace. So if I do dot, oops. And I want to replace the M with, oops. So this is the syntax for replace. You choose whatever character you want to replace in here, and then you set, whatever, so like 1, 2, 3. And then I can print out string itself. Let's see what happens. Nothing happened here. But if I print out the replaced string, you see it has been replaced. So these are non-destructive methods. Destructive methods would be like the ones that change lists. So if you had a list, and so I did my list dot append, and I had some items, so like R, and I print out my list, it should show up on there. Yeah, so it changes the original list. Same as like pop and all of those other methods that we saw. Yeah, Gobble.
Is when you hover over a function and get that like additional information over it, that's something you imported into your VS Code? Or is that like a package? Or I guess mine
Okay.
doesn't do that. How do I make that happen?
It doesn't do it? Okay, that's actually a good thing to mention. So go to your extensions and just look up Python. There's IntelliSense and stuff like that. So there's like a Microsoft built Python extension, which gives like linting, which is kind of making your code more readable and stuff like that. And yeah, that is how I get my
Thank you. It was actually, it came up as a pop-up asking me if I wanted to, but I didn't know if I wanted to or not at the time. I didn't know what it was. So
yeah.
thank you.
Of course. Yeah. I forgot to mention it. Someone brought it up today and I was going to. But yeah, any other questions? This is the end of our lesson today. Right on time, actually. Wow.
So there's no do while loop. There's no way to do a while loop once.
Let's see. Oops. I don't think so. I can Google it. Oops. Yeah, this is just. Okay, so this is a do while loop. Let me show that. Yeah, not a lot of people use do while loops. Just kind of spreading for do. And then at the end, you put your while condition. So you do print hello while true, which is something you shouldn't do. But is do is not defined. It might be. Oh, this is in other languages. Okay, should have read. Yeah. Okay, you can create a do while type loop in Python, but it does not exist naturally. Okay. Any other questions? Awesome. Let me stop the recording.